From Lama Yeshe Rinpoche's book, page 20. When I was 10 years old, I experienced the first major change to the rhythm of my life. My father announced that my brother Akung Rinpoche had sent a letter summoning us to Dol Malakan. My brother, the Tolku, whom I had heard so much about, wanted to meet me. The visit would be in preparation for my joining him in a couple of years to become his assistant. I was excited. I had never been further than the grazing lands above my village, so even the act of saddling up a horse and setting off for the 4-day journey felt like an adventure. My father had some business to take care of near the monastery. He was going to trade salt, which could not be obtained in that area, for white barley, which is particularly good for making sampa. We set off in a westerly direction, accompanied by 12 yaks loaded with sacks of salt. The first night away, we stayed with a nomadic family in the area my mother came from. The following day we had to travel through dense forests and cross a river. I couldn't swim, and I recall my terror when our horse, which my father had tied me to, began to drift downstream from the narrow crossing point. My father managed to drive the beast on to reach the other side, but I was cold, wet, and scared when we struggled out of the water. The second and third nights we spent with other families we vaguely knew, and then on the 4th day we began to ascend toward the desert plain where Dol Malakan was located, at 4,500 meters above sea level. We left the tree line far behind us, and I began to feel overwhelmed by the eeriness of the barren landscape. I just wasn't used to it at all, and I felt small and out of place. We had to cross a deeply frozen lake, and I recall our yaks putting their heads down and scraping their horns over the ice, bellowing as if they were calling to some lost companions below the surface. My first view of the monastery is engraved on my mind. Its central temple building was the largest structure I had ever seen. An adobe construction of pinkish plaster over strong stone walls, its surface rough, the roof made of wood. There was a huge wooden double door set right in the center of the building. As we approached across the boulder-strewn terrain of gray rock, the pink walls seemed to glow. I was still feeling a little bit sorry for myself, and I had no idea what to expect from the meeting that awaited me. But when my father and I arrived, and once the monks had welcomed us, they told us that Akung Rinpoche was not there. He was away with another young Lama called Trungpa Rinpoche, receiving teachings from their guru, called Senshin Control Rinpoche, and nobody could say when he might be back. I didn't really mind too much, though I could see my father was disappointed. These things were inevitable in a society where there was no method of long-distance communication, except letters delivered by hand. My father left me in the care of Akung Rinpoche's tutor for a couple of nights while he went off to do his trading. The man was very kind to me, but I didn't feel comfortable alone in this new environment. There was nobody to play with, since I was the only child there, and I missed my mother's embrace. There was no point in waiting beyond the time required for my father's business, since my brother might not be back for weeks or even months. So after my father's return to pick me up, we set off. The return journey was nowhere near as exciting. When we got back to our village, I was ready to forget entirely about the adventure. Going off to see the world hadn't been that much fun, in my opinion, and I was glad to be home with my family and friends. I wanted nothing more than to resume my happy family life and forget all about Dolmalakan. But my father had different ideas. He set about teaching me to read and write Tibetan, since I would need to be literate when my brother summoned me again to go to him. The training in the routines and procedures of the monastery would be intense, I was told, so it was essential to be ready. I still couldn't imagine the life that supposedly awaited me. Going away, even for that short time, had made it clear to me that I belonged in Dharak. So what need did I have for reading and writing? My father would set out the rice paper, the ink in its copper pot, and pens made from bamboo with a sharpened tip. I would study in an unenthusiastic way until the first opportunity for release presented itself. When he left the room to attend to something my mother was saying, for example. Then I would slip out in search of my playmates. I wanted to please my parents, but I wanted much more to indulge myself. This rebellious streak was a defining feature of the first half of my life. On those tedious afternoons in Dharak, I discovered I had a knack for escaping from whatever it was that I was supposed to be doing. I spent the next 30 years as an escape artist from any situation or expectation that didn't suit me. Naturally enough, it enraged my father to have to come looking for me out in the fields or in the basement of some neighbor's house. One day, tired of dragging me back to my studies, he hit me on the head with a stick. Tibetan parents generally provide a very nurturing environment for their children, but at this time corporal punishment was still the norm for serious misbehavior. Unfortunately, on this occasion my father's aim was off, and he accidentally hit me in the eye, which swelled up so badly that it provoked my mother's fury when she saw it. She was so upset that she insisted that there would be no more lessons. I was delighted. But it made my life very difficult when I arrived at Dolmalakang and embarked on my studies there, for which I was totally unprepared. So we are continuing our discussion of Lama Yeshe Rinpoche's book as we read each section. Mm-hmm. And this is picking up from page 20. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I can understand, after being 10 years in one environment, when I was going to Dharma Langkong, it was like an adventure. And when I experienced the rough journey and crossing the river, I put some fear into him, yes. And when I got to Dharma Langkong, well, things didn't appear as if he wanted it to be, no friends to play with or anything like that. He was the only child that was there. And I think after that he found the strangeness of being away from his home and family. Very, very strange, you know. But however, I'm sure he soon got over that strangeness.
he wouldn't have expected something so different from a place that was 4 days away from where he lived. He
That's right.
probably would have thought it would just be like home, except he would have a new family member.
Yeah, maybe he thought he had lots of friends to play with when he got there, but that didn't work out that way. Yeah, but however, he was there to practice and study. But there, of course, Akong Rinpoche was away, so he had to come back to his family again. And he was excited. He was looking forward to getting back to his family again after being there, and he had no interest in going there after that.
It was a contrast, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And he never had maybe appreciated or had such gratitude for his family and his nice situation with his mom and his playmates until he had a change.
Yes, a new experience. A new experience for him, yes. So
he remembers it all very vividly.
That's right. So he had to go there because he had to learn to read and write. And it's a late age, 10 to start learn to read and write at 10, you know. Most children start very, very, very young. But however, I don't think that was a problem. I'm sure when he went back again the second time, everything took off, everything went well, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So the second time, Akon would be there to meet him this time, the second time.
You think so?
I think he would be there, yeah. Because he got took back again, he would probably, so I don't know how what happened when Rinpoche sent a letter for Lama Yeshe to come. Because the journey is that long, and I suppose he would know how long it would take before he get an answer from his letter. But I'm sure the family responded right away to the letter and took him then. Maybe Rinpoche thought maybe the time the letter got there and the time he went to do what he was doing, he'd be back in time, but it didn't work out that way.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Because he had invited them, and then when they arrived, he wasn't there.
That's right, yeah.
Kind of amazing.
Yes. I think the Lama Yeshe has always been afraid of deep water.
It's understandable.
Yes.
When a person doesn't know how to swim, that's a big challenge.
That says, yeah. Yeah. Even if you could swim, if there's a rough water and it's strong currents, no matter how well you can swim or not, it would sweep you away.
That's right. These rivers in Tibet are big rivers.
They're very powerful currents. It carry away no matter whether you can swim or not, you know. But however, I'm sure it had a fine adventure with some fear put into it.
This section also shows how involved his mother was.
That's right, and why she didn't get any of that bad treatment again. It happened to another story I remember reading. The same thing happened, similar.
In Tibet?
Yeah, Chagdud Tulku, he had a strict nun, and he wasn't behaving himself, so why hit him with a mallet, and he got bruised up, something similar to Lama Yeshe, and his mother saw that, she wouldn't let him go back, she sent the nun away. Yes.
So these were the mothers acting as the protectress.
Yes, yeah.
They would make sure that their precious sons were cared for and treated well.
Yeah. I'm sure they didn't approve of that type of treatment, you know. It was a kind of harsh treatment. But there's another method, treating people with kindness, so it's a question, what is the best, to treat them in a hard way or teach them with kindness, you know?
Yes.
It's a question, which is best?
Now the mother showed the kindness.
She showed that side of it. But he was glad of that. He had to go back to his teaching again. But he had to make up for it. He had to make up for it when he back to Dharma Lockong. Yeah. Dharma Lockong, yeah. He had to make up for it then. And he had to work hard then.
It was his karma, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He had a very beautiful time at home with his family.
That's right.
And then his duty, calling him to be with his brother.
Yeah.
And become Akung Rinpoche's assistant.
Yeah.
So around age 10 is a big turning point for him.
Yeah.
His world changes completely.
Yeah, that's right. So, I think that's it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.